This is the EDUlivestream show found on EDUlivestream.com, featuring your host, CEO Henry Platten from GoBubble.School, and me, Bobbie Grennier, supervising teacher for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District's Virtual Academy. The EDUlivestream show is all about education, being kind, and making a difference. Let's get started. Hey, Henry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. That was fun. That's like the first time I've gotten to walk through all of that and just see it, in real live space. That was so much fun.
Oh, it looked awesome. It looked absolutely awesome. Your creativity shone through.
We have such a good time when we get together. So, hey, how are you?
Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. I feel like I've had about 10 cups of coffee today. I'm absolutely buzzing. So, yeah, really good. Really good. How are you?
I'm really, really good, too. I think since this is our maiden voyage, I think what we should do is kind of introduce ourselves to our audience and let them know, who we are and all of that. I'll be happy to start. I'm Bobbie Grennier, and I'm sitting in sunny Santa Cruz County, California, in the United States, where it's in the 70s in the middle of winter. Where are you, Henry?
So I'm Henry Platten, and I'm sitting in today sunny Chester. Not normally sunny, but sunny at the moment. Chester in the UK, where it's about 4 or 5 degrees at the moment. Obviously, not difference between Fahrenheit and centigrade there. And yeah, just having a great time and loving life.
Excellent. So, you have a lot of new things going on over there in the Go Bubble land. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things? The idea behind the show was in general that we were going to talk about education and family and kids and just a whole variety of topics. But I thought maybe for this first show, we should share about our lives and what we're doing and what we're into. So you're it.
Excellent. I love the warning for that one. That was great. Yeah, so what are we doing? So at Go Bubble, it's all about creating a safe social media for the classroom. and connecting. The vision is to connect all of the classrooms around the world. So at the moment, we're blessed that we're in 70 countries and have more than 3,500 registered schools. One of the really cool, exciting things that we're working on at the moment, and which is actually going live next week on World Book Day on the 4th of March, are our new global collaboration groups. And what we're doing is we're bringing students together from all the way around the world, in particular with the group that we have for World Book Day, all about creative writing. So we're going to be having photo stimulus there, not just from the 70 countries that we're in, but from different countries around the world, and giving them there as a challenge for the kids each day so they can come in and they can use creative writing to talk about that image or to use that as a stimulus for their writing. And I think at the heart, that's very much what drives us at Go Bubble, is that we're always looking at ways that we can save teachers time and to try and look at ways to enable kids to safely connect and collaborate with each other. And that's really, that's what drives us, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you up to at the moment? Tag, you're it. What are you up to at the moment, Bobbie?
Wow. I am, as you know, but maybe some folks don't, I am working for a brand new school in my school district. So I work for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. It's in Watsonville, California, which is in Santa Cruz County. Gorgeous, gorgeous place to live. And we this year launched a virtual academy. And I so happily got tagged to be part of this, launching a school. So it has been a super fun and insane journey so far. we we have been working really hard because when you start a school over here, there's all kinds of accreditations and things that you have to achieve, and we have just finished achieving the goals that we had set to meet the certification for the state of California. And so we did such a good job, I'm going to brag, on the virtual academy. We did such a good job of qualifying that normally they give a 1 year accreditation, but we got 3 years. It's a
Wow.
huge accomplishment. So it's very, very exciting. And I'm just like super excited for this school. And the cool thing about the virtual academy is that we could take students from anywhere across the whole United States. They don't have to live in our area. They don't have to just live in California. Any state, the kids could come and study with us, and it's free.
That's so powerful. I mean, the ability to be so inclusive, and for
Yeah.
kids across the states to be able to come together and experience and learn in that way. Wow, that's amazing.
And as you know, I've been pulling at the heartstrings of Go Bubble to come into the virtual academy, as much as we can, because that concept of safe social media, and a way for the kids to communicate with each other, especially in this kind of a virtual platform, it's paramount, to the success of not only the school but the kids and all of that. So I think the Go Bubble is the service that you're offering is just amazing.
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. And it's one of the things that drives us is that the power of friendship and
Mm-hmm.
authentic audience and authentic collaboration is immense. And looking, because we were around pre-pandemic, and the way that schools were using us back then, before anyone even heard of COVID, was very much about trying to bring people together internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So schools in Toronto, like Linda Edwards' school in Toronto, connecting with Ian Rocky's school in the UK, and then talking about book reviews and book reports together. Just things like that, which are really powerful
Mm-hmm.
with kids who would never have the opportunity normally of going to another country. And then obviously during COVID, it sort of suddenly became very, very, and I mean in a positive way, very insular, in the people are actually looking about, okay, well, how can our kids just stay connected, even if normally they attend the same school, but they can't physically be in the same class? How can they stay connected? And the beautiful thing, being the son of two teachers, is that although I was a police sergeant, um, teachers naturally are problem solvers. And it doesn't matter
Yeah.
whatever cards you're dealt, they will always have the best hand because they've got that positivity and they want to solve the problems, knowing that at the center of it is the students and the students' welfare and what's best for them. And that's the interesting thing is now starting to see the new emergence in terms of the pandemic and where educators are starting to look. And again, it's now starting to go from that insular, let's look after our class, let's look after our students, to then now be, okay, well, actually, how can we be inclusive where we may not be able to geographically travel, even if it's just down the next block or to the next district? How can we now start to connect with other schools? And this is where the work that you're doing is incredible, because you're creating all of that within one learning hub, and it's giving them all of that experience. And again, for children across the states, that's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's like turning the two of us loose on the internet. Here we come. Education might never be the same. Well, you know what? That's actually a good segue. Education probably isn't going to be the same after
No.
this global pandemic. We've been through this, and it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. And they do tell us that be prepared. This could happen again. Our world is changing at such a rapid rate in so many different ways. I mean, maybe we should talk a little bit about the changes that we see. What do you think? I mean, you're on the forefront from the business perspective.
Yeah.
You're talking with other companies that are out there and the tech that they're bringing to the table. What do you see as the changes that have happened because of this pandemic that maybe will change the face of education as we knew it?
Yeah, and it's such an important topic at the moment, and I think the caveat which I would always I'd always have with any discussion about where education is going. It's not a case of where it has to go. It's where it is going. Is that the role of the educator is sacrosanct, because that relationship between educator and student doesn't matter if we're talking pre-COVID, if we're during. I suppose let's talk about it as waves. If we talk about everything we're going through at the moment, from end of 2019, early 2020 to where we are now, if that's phase one, then the role and relationship between educator and student, if anything, became even more important during that time. And I think that was cemented by the more conscious unknowing of parents. So because parents are suddenly thrown into that role of being the at-home educator. Oh, you can probably hear Luca in the background.
Yeah.
He's just saying hello to someone that's just driven past the house. He's 10 years old. You don't hear him unless somebody walks in front of the house. So there we go. The beauties of working from home. So thank you, Luca. So the parents, I think, are, and I say this as a parent myself. Rocco is 4, Sophia's 8. And even though I'm the son of two educators, which is why I'm not one, that's why I went into the police, because that was the career advice they gave me. I always had an appreciation for what educators did. I knew I could never be in a classroom and I could never do what they do and what you do. Now being at home and seeing it firsthand and seeing the amount of work that goes into being an educator, it is mind blowing. So I think what's happened during this phase one is parents are now more aware of and more accepting of the pressure that's on educators. I'm hoping that means they're going to cut them more slack, because they need to. And I think they recognize their role in that triangle of educator, student, and parent. I think what's going to happen in phase two, so when we move out of this phase, and obviously we've got the vaccine that's available and that people have ready access to the vaccine globally, I think where it's moving to is that relationship between those 3 points is always going to be there at the core. I think we're going to be more accepting of disruption in terms of physical disruption on education. So it doesn't matter if that's, the horrendous fires that were there in California. It doesn't matter if it's, the awful weather that's impacting people and suddenly they're losing their lives in Texas at the moment, through to power shutdowns. We're coming in globally into a great series of uncertainty. And I think what's going to, my positive view for education and how it rolls is everybody understands its importance, which is great. But also, I think people are going to cut it a lot more slack and need to, in terms of its importance and how we can preserve the key components, which are relationships between those 3 points. And then also, one of the key strands I think is going to come out of it is a greater personalization for students. Because one of the things in terms of homeschooling during phase one from sort of traditional schooling approaches was the blankets handing out of resources or reading to kids. Whereas, as an educator, in a class with kiddos, and it doesn't matter what age they are, they all have different learning needs and they all learn in different ways. And we try and help them across a common path. But the beauty is that flexibility to move either side of that. I think with where we've been in phase one, there perhaps hasn't been as much ability to be that flexible. But that's where I think it's going to change more going forward, is that it's going to be flexible to the needs of the educator and flexible to the needs of the student. And that kind of personalization, I think, is going to be something you're going to see bearing out more and more.
That's interesting. Now, I was thinking as I was listening to you, where was I? When COVID hit, and it's sort of like what I learned last year, as we started going doing the distance learning. So we kind of defined. I should start there. We kind of defined distance learning as more of a blended learning situation, and then like what I'm doing now is virtual learning, where it's 100%. Well, at the moment it's 100% online, and I think even that's going to change, but I can get to that in a minute. What I learned last year was that I had to go, my communication with the parents needed to go from like this level to this level, like right now. And so that was a big focus. And I think some of the success that I had last year was because I jumped on that right away and developed a relationship with the parents. So like right away went after that triangle, to cement that. Because if you didn't do that, that's where the classrooms that had the most trouble, like that was the breakdown. You had to have the parent buy in and have them helping you. What that translated to this year, as I moved from the distance learning into a virtual learning environment, immediately I went right after that relationship with the parents, immediately established that. And that's actually very interesting. See, I don't do the amount of teaching to the students that I did in the blended learning, distance learning situation. Right now, I actually teach the parents how to be teachers. They're working. It's like my program's like homeschooling on steroids. So you get this whole homeschooling program, and then you get a teacher, to go along with it. And so they meet with me like every week, and we sit down and we discuss, what did you do this week? What, with the student too. So the student doesn't, that we're all in there together like a team. And we talk about their education. So that's like huge. That level of discussion, that hasn't really been happening that much in a regular classroom. So I think that that's one of the things that's changing the face of education. The buy-in from the student, the buy-in from the parents, and bringing that all together, with the teacher, and the teacher like being more active as well, because a lot of teachers kind of got complacent. Don't hurt me, other teachers, please. But there were other teachers who got a little bit complacent with, just having the interaction with the student during the day, and then once in a while they saw the parents. The interaction I have is like almost on a daily basis. And so as a result, I'm going to brag. The school that I'm working for, I've never seen like scores on testing scores like what we're achieving. I have students. I've got a kindergartner who just started kindergarten this year, right? He's already working at a first grade level. I mean,
Wow.
there's no holding the kids back, and they're just soaring, and their studies show it, their scores show it, and their family unit is stronger. They do things together as a family, and we're seeing just these beautifully well-rounded kids coming out of it, except there's a component that needs to be stronger, and that's the component that like Go Bubble is working to provide, which is that moments of socialization with other peers, and collaboration moments as well. And so I'm working right now to make those things happen as well. But
Awesome.
it's a different world we're going to live in.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it's a better world.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. The kind of storming, norming process that everyone's gone through over the last 12 to 14 months. There are so many sort of diamonds that have come shining out of that, where
Yeah.
we've got the opportunity to move things forward in a really brilliant way.
Yeah.
The one of the nice things as well, I think, is and I don't just mean in terms of the triangle now, but I'm looking particularly here in the UK, looking at the media, the media appreciation now for teachers has just moved on so much, and thankfully, which is brilliant. Yeah, and again, I'll never forget initially, the number of tweets and posts that you see just from parents or people in the media who are parents, who were saying that all teachers deserve pay rises, that there's just there's not enough money in the world that you can give to education, and how it's underfunded, and seriously so. Um, and I think that's great, because it's that, again, I said before, it's that now conscious unknowing that they have of how big this is. Because for some parents, their only experiences of education, as you rightly say, historically would have been when they were in school, or maybe now it's going into, or previously it was going into parents' evening, for a parents' update, once a term or once a semester.
Yeah.
It's different now. It's totally different. And and the things that you learn as a parent is great. Like Sophia's teaching me stuff every day, and it's amazing. And we're learning together, and it's great fun having that exploration together as well.
And it's time with your children like you can't get back.
Yeah.
And I think if the parents that I've spoken with, if they were to uh, find one positive thing during this time of great sadness, for the most part, for a lot of families, um, is that they've gotten to spend time together as a family unit, and and in a way that has been kind of supported. I don't know about like you're over there, you're over in Britain, and I'm over here in the United States. As you know, our situation has been bleak for the last 4 years. Education has not gotten the funding that it needed. Um, we're hoping now with a change that changes for us. But we're still seeing like oh, I was just talking with a colleague the other day who was telling me that that there's a mass exodus from even like the state of California, that people are leaving just because of the high cost of living, that the demand for teachers is not necessarily on the rise right now. It's and But it might be, like in our country, I think we're shifting around. When you have populations dying out, then sometimes the younger generations are like, there's nothing holding me here. I can relocate to a place maybe where we could have a better chance at life, a bit more success. These things are happening right now that over here that I don't know what is it like that over there or
I think, yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think in terms of, I suppose there's two parts there, isn't it? The funding situation for schools. I think there's now a greater appreciation from the general public about how that needs to increase, whereas there may not have been previously. My dad, who was a high school principal, always used to say that most people will only hold an opinion on your school from when they drive past the front gate, and that's it. They don't really understand anything else that happens past that. Whereas now people are aware of it. So I think as a result for the governing parties, there's greater scrutiny over the funding for schools. So hopefully that means that will increase. In terms of the transient movements of younger people around the UK, because they're not tied expressly to particular areas. Obviously, we have other situations here in the UK with regards to Brexit and how that's panning out, which is having an impact on us as a country in terms of movement. So I'm not seeing as much evidence of it at the moment amongst the young people with the movement. However, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that does start to happen, particularly because we've gone more to local lockdown. So it's almost like the equivalent of counties within a state being able to say, well, actually, you're in a higher risk area than the next state or the next district along. Therefore, you have more controls over you. You have less controls over you. I think what that's going to do long term, perhaps, is show people actually I don't have to live in a metropolis to have a higher chance at employment. I now know because of this, there's greater abilities to work from home. Therefore, I can actually decide where I want to live, as opposed to having to live in a specific area to get a specific job. I think that movement in terms of home working and non-geographic working is going to be interesting for the UK. But obviously, we're tiny anyway. You can drive from one end of our country to the other quite easily in comparison to even just trying to traverse the west coast of the US. So
that's a good point. I mean, we are land-wise, we're very much a large country, and I think for over here we've been hit really hard with the pandemic and our lack of leadership in trying to control it. Things are really on the mend. It's good. I got my first vaccination, and they're vaccinating the teachers now so that we can go back into the classroom and interact, and so that's a blessing. It's not mandatory, so there's still a few issues around that where parents are asking, so how will I know if my student's teacher has been vaccinated? So if the teacher opts not to be vaccinated, then the parents have concerns about the teacher themselves being a carrier possibly, and for the students. So there's still that level of concern, and we don't have everything worked out. But I would say the vast majority of teachers are going and getting the vaccine, and
brilliant.
So
Brilliant, and rightly so. And again, it's one of the things that I wish here in the UK, they'd put the teachers front and centre in terms of getting the vaccination. Sadly, that hasn't happened, but there have been calls for it to happen, and hopefully that does happen very soon.
I think if they were to it's another one of those situations where if they were to walk in the shoes of the teacher, you would realize that classrooms are effectively petri dishes.
Yes,
they really are. I mean, working from home this year, I have been so healthy by comparison to when I was in a classroom. And honestly, I'm that teacher who wiped everything down and disinfected the classroom and still got sick. So, it's I'm sure overall we haven't had the flu epidemics or colds and things like that we've had in the past, but everybody's trying to do their part for the most part. We still have some segments of our population, unfortunately, that think that this is all a hoax, and I'm can't wrap my head around that.
No, 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 I know.
Anyhow, let's get off this topic because people are listening going, yeah, now I'm really sad. Thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Henry, well, you know what? Let's tell your story. Yours is really interesting. Tell your story, your background, how you got here. You know, you shared some stuff with me the other day that really surprised me. You know, I knew about you becoming a police officer, but you shared like the before that. Let me give you the floor and let you tell your story, and so people can understand kind of what brought you to being interested in this, you know, where you are with Go Bubble and education and all of that. So go for it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So prior, I suppose my career path has resembled crazy paving, in that it's kind of it's you may look at it and you think, oh, that's weird, but actually there's a common thread that's been running through all of it, and the common thread is always wanting to serve, always wanting to improve things, and then using the skills which over the years I've built up in terms of communication and an appreciation of safeguarding, and always wishing to try and find safer ways of doing things. And that's not, I was going to say, it's not wrapping it in bubble wrap, which is quite ironic because that's one of our products is called Go Bubble Wrap. But it's finding safer ways to do things and still have all the fun. So my career path started off as a journalist with the BBC. So when I graduated university, I was a local radio freelance reporter with the BBC, going back to, that was like sort of the mid-90s, at a time when you would still record the audio on reel-to-reel, and you would have a chalk pencil and a razor blade and a piece of sticky tape, and you would edit by cutting the tape and sticking it together. And I remember digital audio recordings coming in the BBC, and I'm always one of those. I mean, my first computer was an Atari 2600, so like to probably sort of to date me. So I've always been one that's loved tech, and I've always seen the opportunity that tech presents. And I remember being in the BBC and seeing the EDUlivestream recorder, which was the reel-to-reel, being slowly phased out and digital recording coming in. And then was blessed to have the opportunity of doing a slight sidestep from being a journalist to working in public relations and actually helping people who had issues with the media. Because I was finding it increasingly hard going to stories when people are at their low point in life, you know, and asking them for a soundbite or a snippet because you have to fill a certain amount of airtime, and then actually is a way of taking those skills and applying them in PR and helping charities, helping organizations, and people to help communicate their message. And that was very successful, won lots of awards, got promoted, ended up early to mid-20s as a national PR manager for a law firm. Brilliant, you know, incredible. Not bragging, but on a decent salary for my age at the time, but felt unfulfilled. And felt unfulfilled because I had this ability to communicate, but still felt that it wasn't deploying itself in the best way that could add most value and most impact to people. And then a friend of mine called Emma, who's now in Australia, lent me a book called What Colour is Your Parachute, which is about how to pick a good career that you want. And essentially got a piece of paper and followed the book and broke the piece of paper into a grid of 4. And what do you like about your current job? What don't you like? What would your ideal job contain? And what would your ideal job not feature? And wrote this list out. And somebody looked at it and said, well, you realise that Nat is a police officer. And I was like, no, that literally just hadn't hit my radar at all. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense, and the more it resonated with me. And I always thought back to my mum, who told a very story of when I was very young, like 3-4 years of age, how in Birkenhead, which is the town in which I grew up in, which is just over the water from Liverpool, over the River Mersey. So when you hear the song, Ferry Cross the Mersey, it was crossing from Liverpool to Birkenhead. So Birkenhead's where I grew up. And she always tells this story of seeing somebody drop some litter. And there was me, age 4, and I picked up this piece of litter and ran after this person and pulled on their clothing and handed it back to them, saying, you dropped this. And she always tells this story about, knowing right from wrong. So when I was thinking about this and thinking about what was important to me, seeing the role within the police made perfect sense. What I had to try and ensure, though, is that the people I worked with didn't think that I'd just completely lost the plot. And there I was on an incredibly well-paid job, and me saying, actually, I want to quit. And I want to quit to take a significant pay cut, to put on a uniform and walk around the streets of Chester at 3 a.m. in the middle of December, trying to keep the streets safe. So thankfully, they didn't think I'd lost the plot. They could see why it was important to me, did that. And I always say there's 2 good decisions that I had. One was joining the police, and the other one was leaving the police. So I joined the police, very fulfilling career. The people that do it for 30 years plus, I'm blown away by. Literally, it's incredible. So my time in the police thoroughly enjoyed, got to work with some amazing people, got to learn a lot of interesting stuff, and got to have amazing impact in practically changing people's lives. And then realized, coming towards the end of my career in the police, that what I wanted to do was to actually help children more when it comes to making the internet safer than I ever could in the police. Because part of the problem of being in the police is you're part of the machine, and being part of the machine means you can usually only have an impact on one person at a time that you come into contact with. But the problems that were happening back then, early days of Bebo and MySpace, were running into the hundreds of thousands. And it was a case of there has to be a way that I can help more people. There has to be a way I can benefit more people. So quit. You can see a trend developing now. So quit. And again, people thought I was crazy because I was on a fast track to become a superintendent. So quit, set up a program called eCadets, which is kids helping kids how to be safe online. That's benefited more than 1 million children. And then through that, found how under 13s, which we always knew used social and used social media, but understood more why they used it. And it's not because they want to chat with randoms. They just want to connect with their friends. They want to have those authentic friendship moments. And tech was the enabler to help them do that. So then thoughts, okay, well, let's build it. And that's how GoBubble started, really, as a blank sheet of paper and wanting to solve problems and help schools and help more kids.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah, a very big nutshell. That was quite a. That was like a walnut, not a pistachio, but it was, it was, or a coconut even. That was quite a big nutshell. So yeah.
I love it. And that Henry, life is a journey, and sometimes we have to make all these little detours to get on the path that we're really meant to be on. It's that. What are you going to put in your bucket kind of an idea, and as you load up your bucket with all these things that seem important to you, and then at a certain point your bucket's full and some things have to go by the wayside, but the lessons that you learn from the journey, and you bring all of that forward with you. And so the person, when you told me your story, I was taken by how similar our stories are. So I'll share mine in just a few minutes, but it just how you kind of develop by all of these what seem like odd journeys, but they're not really, because when you synthesize everything, it really comes down to these little microscopic parts that you just carry with you and go from there. Hey, let me share a little promo about GoBubble for people to see, and then we'll come back and I'll share a little bit about my background, okay?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Henry Platten. As a father and as a former police sergeant, I'm on a personal mission to make the internet safer for all children everywhere.
GoBubble is creating a safer, healthier and kinder digital experience for our children to engage with their friends online. It will come as no surprise to you that children use digital communication and language in a different way to adults. we've built our own child-centered content moderation software, GoBubbleWrap. Also, our new at-home child messenger app, GoBubble Kids, uses a freemium model and is available on iOS and Android. Our technology can check all content before it appears in real time. Text, emoji, photo, video, even audio, providing secure scalability and preventing issues before they even appear. We have a fantastic experienced team behind the scenes, and we're all making it our mission to make the internet a safer place for children.
Yeah, so pretty awesome stuff there, Henry.
Thank you. Thanks, Bobbie.
Love it.
And it was obviously we were just talking before that about your own journey. I know when all the times that we've connected and hearing your journey, which is included tech, included being within industry as well, has been so inspiring for me, and also I think personally quite a unique experience. I know a lot of educators globally, and I don't know any who have a similar background to you. So God, why don't you hit us with your backstory, but aim for the coconut shell, not the pistachio shell, because that's how long I took.
I love it. All right, tag, you're it then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, my background is similar. I went to college, got my degree, started teaching, actually taught junior high school for about 10 years, and bought myself the very first Macintosh computer. I've got a model number 1 sitting out in the garage, and it should be sitting in here on my desk behind me, but it's I still have it, and it still works. And it won't run anything, but it still works. Anyhow, I've been interested in technology, immediately. Just couldn't get enough. And that was back in the day. I hate to say it, but that's back in the day when there really weren't a lot of courses open to me, to be able to learn the kind of technology that I needed to learn. It wasn't in the schools yet. In fact, the school I was working for at the time, I wrote the very first grant to get the very first computer that school had, and we all fought over it after that. And it was hard. When I moved on, I had to leave it behind. It was like, no, my pretty, Anyhow, I got scooped up into the world of technology for about 25 years. I left education in terms of the public sector, went into the world of technology. I had taught myself to at that time, program, and I was creating websites. And that was back, when you had to hire somebody to do that for you because it was so new to the internet. There was no software to help you. Everything had to be coded by hand and all of that. And so almost everything that I have acquired, I just have this insane appetite for education, and technology has just 100% fascinated me. So yeah, you've got in me this odd chick that the tech-toses in my school district are like, we're not on your level. We don't know the things teach us, And that was kind of how I stepped forward here to start doing EDUlivestream, because I realized that I was like talking up here in the clouds, and a lot of times, my audience was not understanding what I was trying to communicate about, like why live streaming is so important to education and why we should be embracing this medium and taking it and running with it. And so I started EDUlivestream to educate administrators and teachers how to do this, and how to either use software to do it the hard way, do it the easy way, whatever works for you. But this is a medium that we need to embrace and go forward with, because the face of education has changed. And then at some point it dawned on me that talking to Henry was more fun than just being on here by myself teaching. So I was like, yeah, Henry, come, let's play and let's talk about education and kids and all of that. I have found myself, I have left the technology in the Silicon Valley now. After 25 years, I have gone back to my first love of teaching, and I've been in the classroom teaching until the pandemic really hit. And then this year I actually have gone into a 100% virtual environment. And that's not to say that I won't go back into a classroom again. And even if I go back into a classroom, I think I'm so changed by the impact of technology and how far it's advanced in this 1 year, because of the global need, that I'm just my head is buzzing with all the possibilities of things that that we can do as teachers. But the problem is getting it to a point where the teachers can understand what it is I'm trying to say to them and can embrace it and can use it, and it's easy and it's not hard. Like even what we're doing right now, live streaming this, we're sitting here, I'm controlling what's happening. You're a willing sacrificial lamb on the other end. And it takes collaboration like that to be able to move. Maybe one person has the tech knowledge on how the system works, but another person has the information to be able to to present out. My deepest desire right now is to find ways to be able to bring the information out into the homes of the families in ways that hadn't been thought of before, in ways that are in keeping with the technology that we have available to us right now.
Yeah.
And, still looking forward, but not sitting back in complacency in my classroom and going, oh yeah, I'm not going to learn Google suite of tools. Those teachers, I've spent the last year working with a lot of teachers one-on-one, and now they understand why they should have jumped on that, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
No.
And it takes there are some extraordinary teachers out there, and I want to use that as a segue. I want our listeners to understand that the show isn't going to always be about just what you and I do. We're a component of that, but our goal with this show was to bring in other people who may be administrators, maybe teachers, it could be even parents, it could be, kid. Well, I don't know about kids. There's a little legal things there with, their images and stuff, so I don't want to get us in trouble. But certainly just, bringing in as many different points of view as we can. I don't want to be narrowed to a script or a time limit or any of those things. I want us to just be able to kind of go with the flow and where the conversation takes us. So it may take us off in education, it may take us off on something really technical, or we may just be sitting around talking about, so what movies are you watching on TV or books that you're reading,
Yeah. Exactly. And the way I see this first one, this is almost like the backstory for everyone.
Yeah.
So they understand, our points of reference, our context when we're talking. But yeah, it's, as you rightly say, this is just purely like the précis and the backstory, so people can understand sort of where we're both coming from.
I'm sorry. I was going to say
I'm really psyched as well about some of the educators and some of the people we've been talking about who are interested in coming on in future shows. That is brilliant. And now I'm going to be quiet. Over to you.
Oh no, I'm excited about them too. Henry and I've been going back and forth and absolutely like, oh, we should invite this person. Oh yeah. What about this person? We already have like a master list that's probably going to take us 3 years to be able to talk to everybody. We're so excited to be able to do this. And the problem will be like getting our schedules together so that we can both get on there. And maybe once in a while, maybe it might just be one of us doing the discussions or something like that. I don't know. We're like I said, this is very free flowing form. Try and say that 10 times.
Can I just say fluid? Is that okay?
Please do. I love it. Hey, I should tell everybody too about so how Henry and I met was this. This conversation went like this. I was like, this Go Bubble thing, that looks pretty cool. I've got kids who are, we're in COVID situation and my kids want to talk to each other. I need a way for them to communicate where they don't do bad things, because I had fifth graders and fifth graders love to do bad things. And so I'm looking around, I see Go Bubble, and I'm like, this Go Bubble thing, that looks pretty cool. And so I go in there, I'm looking around, and I right away, I sent an email off to Henry asking all kinds of questions, because I want to know this and that, and how come this and how come that. And he very, very, very sweetly and politely answers me back and gets me into a one-on-one chat conversation and tells me, so did you know that you had made an account over a year ago? So what happened? What? And I'm like, really? I had this thought a year ago. How silly am I that I should have done it.
And I think that's life, isn't it? Yeah, there are gems that we see along the way, and then either they slip from our mind or needs change, and suddenly it's like, actually no, we need this now, which is great. Obviously, for us that we can fulfill requirements at different times. But yeah, no, I loved it when you reached out, and it was just like, I recognize the name. Why do I recognize the name? Let me just go and search the database of schools that we have. It's like, there's Bobbie. Excellent. So yeah, it's brilliant. And obviously since then our friendship's grown as well, because we've been able to talk and talk not just about your school, about what we do, but everything else as well.
Yeah, Henry and I got onto a conversation like this, and just I think we talked about everything, and we had such a good time. We were like, oh yeah, we should probably talk about Go Bubble. Figure that out. Yeah, my kids need to communicate with each other. How's that work? So anyhow, yeah. So now we're half a world apart from each other, and trying to figure out a time slot to bring you over there in the UK, me over here in California. And, so this kind of worked out for us. I'm hoping that we can do these on a more regular basis. And so now what we have to do is talk to some of those folks that we're interested in having on here. And I'll arm wrestle you for who's first. That ought to be interesting. No, I'll let you win. You get to pick the first one, Henry, and we'll contact that person and have them on, and then you can bribe me to be kind. No, I'm kidding. I'm always kind. I'm a Go Bubbler.
You're a Go Bubbler. And that's one of our 3 words, is kind. So safer, healthier, and kinder.
Exactly. Henry, anything else that you want to, on our maiden voyage here, anything else that you want to share from your world? I know you got a T-shirt contest going.
Yeah, so we've got a T-shirt competition called Go Kind, which is running until the end of March, and that's for the kiddos to design a motif around the topic of Go Kind. What does kindness look like to them? We've already seen incredible designs coming into Go Bubble from all the way around the world, which is just awesome. And it's a great way. The educators have loved it as well, about sparking creativity, obviously offline design, but also the empathy, getting the kids to think about what kindness is. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the thing we're also really super psyched about is starting on World Book Day, 4th of March. Is our new global collaboration groups under the Go Right with the creative writing. So yeah, it's really fun. Just lots going on at the moment, which is awesome. Seeing tons of school registrations each day, lots from the US, which is awesome. and then and new countries joining. And how about for you? What's so between now and,
Well,
and me arm wrestling you? What's
it's kind of
what's
funny.
the
Because our school is new, we had to it's like you really have to think about like what do the kids need to do. See, my school is kindergarten through 12th grade. So that's very, it's kind of a unique situation because we have an elementary and middle school and a high school. So we kind of have to do things that fit the need of all at times. So we have a project going right now. Obviously, we're creating, we need a school mascot and we need school colors. So they have voted on school colors. I believe that they're blue and silver. Not
Nice.
gray, silver. I don't know how we're going to pull that off, but
Okay.
and oddly enough, they have chosen the mascot. They have chosen a mouse. So it's very unique. I think it's very a virtual school can do that because we're not sitting necessarily on a football field screaming "Go Mice." I
Excellent. Oh,
because it's just the visuals. I know, huh? All these other teams have these names, like all these falcons and bear grizzlies, and and yeah,
and the mice.
we're a mouse.
A mouse.
Go
Sorry,
mouse.
not even mice. A mouse. Brilliant.
So right now, we have our kids doing kind of an art contest to design the mouse. And it can be a mouse,
Ah.
or it could be like a mouse, or some combination. We will see what they come up with, but I have turned them on to your contest as well, so we'll see if we get any entries for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, the one thing you can always guarantee, kids are so creative. And it'll be, I'm sure, illuminating what they come up with for your school mascot competition.
Yay, mouse. I think we should leave it there for today.
Yeah.
Henry, it's been fabulous spending time with you as always, and I love that we're just going to let the rest of the world in on the fun that we have, and bring some more people into that world. So you're first, tag, you're it. You pick the first guest, and then we'll let everybody know who that's going to be and why they get to be the first guest. Sound good?
Okay, it does. I'll accept that challenge.
All right. On that note, I'm going to lead us out and say goodbye to everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much, Bobbie.
Thanks for listening to the EdUlivestream show. Let's stay connected. You can follow us on Twitter at EdUlivestream. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And be sure to watch our live streaming shows on YouTube. If you want to join our next show or be a guest on our show, just visit our website at EdUlivestream.com or message us on Twitter at EdUlivestream. Please subscribe and leave a comment. We value you so much. Until next time, thanks for listening. Be kind and show your support for education.
ba-da-ba-ba.